Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron IV with DiDay's Common Units of World War II mod. Also, I want to say that I stuck on my new sort of small mod, Expanded Ministers. Now, what it did was when I loaded it up, it removed Robert Taft because I found that only 3 of the ministers, these 3 though I replaced his because I really thought it was an ugly portrait, actually had the correct portraits to them. The rest were generic portraits. So I gave Robert Taft, though he looks a little yellow here, and John Wynett here looks a little washed out. Just the sources I'm using that are all real historical sources for the images, and we now have expanded. I'm still going to work on Henry Woodring. He was the Secretary of War at this time, but still going to work on it a bit. But I wanted to play with it just because it was this minister disappeared because of needing to rename things a little bit. He disappeared from the save game. So when we get enough political points, which we're going to wait till the Caribbean sphere, then we'll put him back. So I decided to take that hit just to have more options. You can see the video where I went and discussed all these people for details about who they were. But so we're continuing here with America, speeding ahead. Japan's fighting there. Okay, we have free factories now. It's 38 and we're building up. I want to build another couple of military factories. My father worked for the Navy for most of his career. Wasn't in the Navy, worked for the Navy. Actually, I guess theoretically he was working for the Defense Department, but worked out here in California, and specifically for the Navy. For quite a while during his career, he had to make trips to Oklahoma because there was he was sort of a program analysis for the Navy, including with computers. There was a Navy base here, and he explained to me why there was a Navy base in Oklahoma. To maintain stockpiles of munitions. And it was built originally during World War II in McAlester, Oklahoma, wherever that is, don't know specifically. Relatively small town area. And I think it's still there. So we're going to put a military production, maintaining stockpiles of, naval ammunition, and it's sort of essentially located to go to the East Coast or to the West Coast. So that's why that's why there's some reasons why the U.S. built industry internally here. Obviously it can help with being difficult to attack. Let's see, we are okay, that's the 1940s, and we don't, well, let's see, 135 days. Really don't think I want siege artillery at this time. No, let's get these out so we can get one into production. That would be useful. I was looking through some of the improvements on Black Ice, and they were looking really good. I haven't really fired it up a couple of times, but I haven't, even played 6 months or a year in Black Ice yet. Just mostly because, and even now, I don't really think it's there yet. There's no criticism on the Black Ice team or the Black Ice people. It's just they're building it. They're releasing it in stages. It's playable. They're wanting people to send them feedback. Balancing issues, that's a big thing where they're balancing production, you know, how many days it takes to. They've limited so you can't rush through carriers or whatever too fast, so limit the amount of naval factories you can assign to any one ship, so you can have more carriers, you know, have, I think it's 5 right now, so instead of, you know, naval yards, so, you know, you can have 5 of them in production at once and they'll all get done, but they'll take a more, as they're looking at it, historical length of time from starting production to ending. So they're, you know, it's still in that phase. That's one of the reasons I haven't wanted to play it. Now we've got to have, we're going to bring Robert Taft. But, well, actually, let's bring John Garner. He's the vice president. Yeah, at this time still. And he's also a silent workhorse. Robert Taft was a Republican anti-FDR and anti-intervention. So I always wondered why they went with him. Okay. Now we'll be able to build up, well, 0.3, because once we start another focus, it'll take away from our... yeah, I will do that. So yeah, so now we're going back up. So we lost a little ground, yeah. And we've got mobile defense now, but first we have some free factories here. Well, I want motorization here, so let's go for encryption. Keep our secrets to ourselves. And we're now getting some more aircraft in production good and useful numbers. Cool. Okay, the Sims class, that's good. That started, and since we have the Sims class, okay, let's just to one. Let's get this one completed, and then we will upgrade destroyers in production. And now, there we go. A little better. ships. I'm gonna wait a little bit to do some upgrading. Please get these ships in production. Okay. Well, back and beyond. Yeah, I'm not scientific on what I'm building here. Do it sort of a gut feeling. Because I'm not planning on starting the war particularly early. I mean, we may start it a few months earlier. It depends, obviously, if Japan declares war on us. But we will see. Okay. Getting trucks. Yeah, more any tank. I'm thinking for strategical use. Eventually, yes, it should be building some marine divisions. But some of these garrison divisions help hold the American coast, help hold my islands, possibly, you know, send some out to the Philippines to help hold there cheaply. They might get overrun, of course. We're in January 39, so we can do this. You know, put them around in places, so some garrison divisions, and then a few infantry divisions to also sort of more to go on the offensive along with the Marines. And remember, there was more army units involved, army divisions or other units involved in the Pacific Conquest than the Marines. The Marines were the initial landing, the initial shock troops. I'm sure we'll get into more of this history of a lot of the invasions and some of the smaller islands, depending on which one that may have been entirely a Marine operation. But the bigger things like the Philippines and some of the other islands that were much bigger fights, they were a you know, army as much or more than they were the Marines. Marines were just sort of the best in the leading element. Okay, now. Yeah, let's do Rock Island. Get that. So, have a few infantry divisions. Okay, Germany gets memo. Because we don't need to move through whatever the Japanese, or to hold, or whatever to move through the Philippines, Indonesia, whatever they may have at the time. We don't need motorized troops to do that. Jesse H. Jones. We'll put him in charge of production, of producing factories. Now. Oh no, the North Carolina class battleship. So let's get one of those. Yeah, 7 years. It's going to take a while, but we'll get more. Shipyards producing there. So, okay. And of course we're going to jump over to electric one. get production set up better. No, Essex class, good. It's not until 40, so we will. Not that I need factory repair rate, but I want to get that resource exploitation. It's not nearly as critical, obviously, for U.S. as it is for Germany. So much better resources, but still, you know, chromium and some of those others might get a bit rare once we really get into full steam production. I guess the only real action here is going on is Japan, and they're losing against China. I was thinking about, and if you want to comment, not for this series or game, but thinking about making a national spirit for China. And that is, or ideas or whatever, one of these things. That greatly reduces one movement of divisions. You could still strategically redeploy them at normal speeds, but moving Chinese divisions would just slow way down. And because there's some techs and things, but they really don't show the difference in units, and Chinese units really weren't that mobile. Yeah, you load the division on trains and move them somewhere, and that's the strategic redeployment. That's fine, but they didn't have much of any transport, and I mean even much on the scale of horses and wagons. Oh, and you can talk to me about, and there were, you know, Division 88, that's one of them that's popping to mind, and there were a few other really high-profile divisions. Most of them got destroyed around Nanjing. Campaign not so much for the city, but just in the campaign around here. These were the sort of the German-equipped, German-trained divisions that got destroyed, but that's just a few divisions, and they weren't even really motorized, but they had some motorized elements to them. Most of them weren't very mobile at all, and two, from reading some books, it was sort of like a battalion would sort of show up to the front, and oh, there's the enemy, you know, that you can like see through binoculars or way off, and just sort of sit down, and they just sit there. I mean, almost literally the way it was described by some of my witnesses. They just sort of, oh, there's the enemy, okay. Everybody sort of, you know, spread out, sit down. They wouldn't attack. Yeah, they probably had a low ammunition supplies, and I also believe low training, which can be, I know I should be getting this going forward, but talking here for a second, which can of course be handled to some degree by not having very many slots, and then of course them not going very far down this, but still it's more than that. So very very lack of offensive minded attack, so it'd have very bad attack penalties, so that if it was ever going to try to, any divisions try to attack Japanese decent ones, it just would be very, very badly penalized. But to sort of compensate for that, because I also don't want Japan in 6 months to overrun China, because obviously they didn't, and I'd want better to have, you know, rear area partisans spring up to deal with that, but have it give them defensive bonuses, so that Chinese divisions would be very slow to move, would be very poor in attack, but be reasonably decent in defending themselves, so that Japan couldn't just overrun them. That's sort of my thoughts. If you want to post your ideas, I'd love to hear them. Okay, support Rock Island Arsenal, that's been done. Now, oh, and of course, fate of Czechoslovakia. Bye-bye Czechoslovakia. Okay. Well, I don't know that I need any of these just yet. I don't think I need that. Okay, research for there. I'm trying to follow a bunch of these I can, which will get going here. Okay, well, we need to research the marine, so let's do that next. Zog cements. Well, looks like we can go to some of these once we get the next boost. So in a while, let's see if we go to partial mobilization. That'll be better than most of these other things. And it looks like we can start. Now let's build a couple more. Oh, the Mississippi here. One branch of it. Okay, we got lots of towed artillery. Now getting lots of infantry equipment. Let's produce some more fighters. Increase those. And yes, we need more rubber. And 2 light tanks, great. Another thing we want to start producing. Okay, we're all on our industries. That's useful, but doesn't really help with other development. So well, okay, 139, that'll be important. Now let's use these up, get them through fast. Improved artillery, so we can switch over to better artillery production. The reason I did this here is because this will upgrade the units. These upgrade units. So they're sort of retroactively beneficial. But this doesn't upgrade the old artillery. So you'll have old artillery, and then you can produce new artillery. So you want to get this done first, then you can do these intermediate upgrades that upgrade the units, because even if you have a unit filled with old artillery, you can upgrade the unit, meaning sort of, yeah, I gather their thoughts and I agree. Better training, coordination, and minor equipment improvements to, you know, handle things a little better. Okay, well, we want to start producing tanks. And 2 light tanks, yeah, they're junk. But at least it'll get some going, and we can create a few armored divisions here shortly in training. Yeah, let's go with 2 of those. Okay, now improved artillery. Like I said, we've got better artillery. One thing we should see about doing is since China's at war, we now have this. Do we have the ability to lend lease to China? Yes, okay. Good. I want to send these. Since we don't care about the lives of Chinese pilots, we'll give them all junk. That's one thing also about this game and what's going on here. And I posed a question. A few people gave some good answers. Why? But why, once you're at war, say and you're at war with China, you're at war with Japan, and you're now your faction ally. Why would you ever send them lend-lease? Oh, well, to support our aircraft, specifically aircraft, not equipment, ground equipment or whatever. Because, oh well, so that they could use this. Yeah, and you get some air benefits up here, air experience benefits. Yeah, but you get more sending your own. And once I can send U.S. units into China and station them there, we're both at war with Japan. You'll get all the benefits, and since we don't train pilots, and we're not really, and they said, well, manpower, yeah, that's true, but hopefully they have units that could use the artillery. Yeah, that's good. I don't know that they need any tanks. I don't think Japan has much in the way of tanks. I'm not going to send them my few tanks. Okay, we're just going to do that. What? Great. So, I just couldn't see what the real great benefit, to some degree. And they said, well, one of the things that made the most sense was you don't have to micromanage the Air Force. Okay, for the Allies, and they get to decide what is best to do. Yeah, we'll great. Italy joins the Axis. Okay. And France bans communism. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Lots of stuff. And concentrated industry. Happen all at once, just because we're all on the same 70-day thing, so they all happen at about the same time. Yes, get Marines going, so we can start building some Marine divisions. Training those up. And for national focuses. Well, let's go with a warplane orange. Step down the path towards war with Japan. Now, of course, now there's a good reason to send aircraft over, because we can't. We're not at war, so if we can't send Japanese or send to China fighters to fight, our U.S. manned and ready fighters. I mean, we'll have better doctrines, better training techniques. I really would love to have a system of training pilots, and you can be fairly automated, but that is a limiting factor. And of course the other thing is, like I commented, we don't really care about American lives here because these aren't real people, but in real life, if they were, flying coffins or something, well, we don't want to put good Americans into flying coffins. Those. We don't want to do that. And, well, if whatever other nation that may be in a more desperate need, they can choose to do so or not. Okay, this one we have to make the choice. Dogfighting experience. Let's do dogfighting experience. So there's, you know, real world reasons why you would do that, you know, lend-lease aircraft. Partially because, like I say, the manpower or trained pilot limitation, and then lives. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the video. And, you know, it would be a help if you happen to play whether the new expanded U.S. ministers mod here, or if you playing Tanganyika and you haven't already, if you go onto Steam to give it the thumbs up, I really appreciate that. It gets more visibility for the mods, and then that means more visibility for the channel, which means more visibility for the mods, which everything just grows. So if you do that, I'd appreciate it if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.